He wants a contrite heart. So if you're feeling humble today, if you feel like you failed, if you feel like you're a failure, if you feel like there's no way out of the situation, if you feel like your reputation is completely smeared by whatever's been done, I want to just remind you, it is not. You are still a child of the great, mighty, matchless King. And you are not your failures and you're not what you do, but you are who He says you are. And He's calling us to be holy like Him. And that does require a stripping away of the ego, of comparison, of what other people have to say, knowing that there is a blessing in the failing. Hello, precious one. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Brittany Virginia. On this channel, I share faith, beauty, and Christian lifestyle content with you guys. And today I have another chit chat video, and I want to talk about the blessing of failing, the blessing and grace of God in failing. So I'll give you a bit of a background of two instances where I failed miserably. And how I saw God's grace and love and faithfulness in that, and because I ended up growing and being sharpened in my character and in my disposition as a woman of God, and in my submission and in holiness as well, like just Him sharpening me to be more like Christ, which was painful journey, but a journey that I'm going to still be on until the day I die. Oh gosh. Or the day He returns. Glory, glory. But yeah, so as you know, as some of you know, I'm a writer, poet, creative producer, and I had the privilege and honor and blessing of having my play stage last year, and in 2025. And I wrote and starred in that play and also was producing that play. It was extremely, extremely difficult. Having all those roles was extremely difficult, and at the time starting out, I was just like, we don't have finance to bring anyone else on, so I have to manage this on my own of the best of my ability. A lot of things happened in that project. It was a success at the end, but it was still a big challenge in the process of it. There was a situation where I had to look for a certain member to join, and in that I completely, and I'll go into it in another video about being a villain in someone else's story and accepting that part that you played in their story. But at the time it was a friend, and I was like, hey, would you like to join? I had the finances and to pay them. So then I asked if they wanted to join, and they were happy to. But in the midst of chaos and confusion, being overwhelmed and these kind of things, I made a decision along with others, someone else that was part of the project, that they were like, okay, I want this person on and not this other person. But we didn't say it explicitly. We were still like waiting to see whether or not the other person would fall through. So we kind of had that person on standby, even though I reached out to them initially, and that was a friend. And in all the chaos, I forgot to let them know that, hey, we're going to move on to this other person instead of you. And the issue wasn't the fact, I mean, it could have been the fact that I reached out as well, but it was mainly because I didn't let the person know, which I take that totally all responsibility for my lack of communication and professionalism as well in that, and how, you know, the impact of that. Now I try to do my best to cover that situation best as I could. But yeah, it was shambles, and there was other aspects of the producing process. Now this is my first time producing such a large play. It became bigger as we went on. Initially it was meant to be, in my head I was like, this is a small thing we're gonna do, and it became a whole bigger thing, which is not bad, but I just didn't anticipate it. And there was a lot of things that came up that, you know, was out of my control, that I had to work through. And I felt like such a failure, such a disappointment. I just felt so crap about myself, and like, how could I not now, you know, I knew I wasn't gonna know everything, but I was like, on this level, I felt like I failed miserably. And in front of people, I think the hardest thing was failing in front of people. I was like, yeah, I don't mind failing in my room by myself. I don't mind failing like within my family because like they love me no matter what. But when you're failing in front of people who are depending on your gifts and your professionalism to execute what you set out to execute, and it doesn't happen, it was so damaging to my ego, my pride. I had such big ego and pride in that, and that I learned that in that process. And I was very judgmental of others when they, fell short and they didn't do things well and they didn't have a bigger structure towards plans, and I'm part of the plan and it's just going awry, and I'm just like, yo, why are we doing this? What are we doing? Like, you have me here. And I just had such a judgment, so much criticism towards others. And that was like a gut punch. I felt like I was being beaten up all over in that process. But it humbled me. Like it really showed me how much ego I had, how much I was like, oh, I got this, I can do this, and I don't need any. No, I wouldn't say I don't need anyone, but like I got this in the bag, and I didn't have it in the bag. I was doing things, holding my breath tight. And then another instance is when another producing instance. Now, I actually really enjoy producing. I think it's really fun to put things together. I really love that art of putting things together and that challenge. It gives me so much excitement to get to organize something and to see it executed and see it at the finish line. So I'm a part of my friend's project. She asked me to be a producer, creative producer on her film, which is so amazing. Can't wait for that to come out. Yay, 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 yay. So that film covers like faith and culture and a biblical, lens, a creative biblical lens on a classic biblical story. So in that, I was in charge of like contracts, which I actually like doing contracts, and learning more about how to structure contracts and get them in place and like send them off, get back and save them. I that's just a fun thing for me to do. But in this, it was just like, one, I didn't do it early enough. I should have had the contracts like done within, I don't know, like maybe a month before I even started shooting, before I even started contacting people. I think I should have done that. That's what I would do now. And then the wording. Now, my friend also had a look over the contracts and she was like, oh, yeah, ready to go. Because, it's her project. So I want to make sure everything's clear. So we both missed the fact that my wording was per day when it was supposed to be per total. And it's a small project, so there's not much money. She's funding majority of the money. And she's also, we did some crowdfunding and we got a grant as well to help with support with post-production. So that was really great. But it was basically no money. And usually no money shoots, you have to be even extra careful with money. And I think even larger shoots, you would have to be mindful of like where money is going and be so meticulous about each penny, each cent. And yeah, so I missed it out. We sent a contract and it was per day and not in total. And she had to pay more, and a large significant amount more. And then another instance where the other contract said the same thing, but someone else reached out to me. It was like, Brittany, initially you told me this is the amount in total, but on the contract it says per day. Have you changed that? Like, let me know, because I'll gladly accept it, because obviously it's a low budget film. And I was like, oh my gosh, no, it's not that. This is what it is. Thank you so much for telling me. And I got it sorted before other people signed their contracts, right? So thankful for that person reached out to me. Mind you, that person was even out of faith. Now my friend, she's a Christian. The same friend that happened to play is Christian as well. And then another instance happened where I put the wrong date on the contract because we had two shooting dates, one for certain actors and then one for another actor, and I put the wrong date for one of the actors, which we really really needed, and it was like, I think a week before the shoot. Oh no, it was like 2 days before the shooting, and I'm like, No, it was probably 3 days before the shooting, because I think it was like a Tuesday or Monday I found out, and then we were shooting on the Friday. I was like, oh my days. The lady, the actress emailed me. She's like, I really want to be part of this. I will help you find another actor, but I really can't. Da, 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 I can't change it. Da, da, da. And I'm like, oh my days. Oh no, it was the Friday shoot. And I was like, oh my days, I'm so sorry. And she supported me. We found an actor. By God's grace, we found one. And there was a lot of mix up, and I was just like, this is so my fault. And I again felt so horrible, and like my ego, my pride was so bruised, and I felt so defeated. But my friend was so graceful with me. She's like, it's okay. We'll just pay this and we'll get an act. Like, she was just like, we're just on it, just fixing it. And she didn't harbor, oh my days, like she didn't make me feel even worse than I already felt. She didn't make me feel like I was the worst person to work with. She was so graceful and so loving in that. And it's just like her personality. She was just like, oh well, yeah, obviously it's not great, but hey, we kind of have to move on. But I just needed her attitude. Like, it was, and I was like, man, I need to be more like that. I need to be more humble, more gracious with other people when they make mistakes, when they, fall short. I just need to be way more better at that, because I wasn't, and in that, God's love was shown, when I, obviously through my friend, because I didn't deserve how patient and gentle she was, because this is her project. She was just like, we'll just sort it out. And that's how the Lord is with us. When we mess up, we can come graciously before the throne of grace, humbly and graciously, presenting our weakness to Him. And he says, Psalm 51:17, my sacrifice, O God, is a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart. You, O God, will not despise. You, O God, will not despise a contrite heart. And in James it says, God resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble. And then when Jesus quotes in Matthew, I desire mercy and not sacrifice. And I'm so grateful that He welcomes a contrite heart, because I felt so contrite in that, in my sin, my fallenness. Obviously that's talking about like our sin in general, and how we come before Him, like how much we need Him, and not like what we give to Him, like, oh, our our repentance is like, that is worth, and it is worth something in the sense of, now we can be forgiven, but because we recognize our faults. But it's not like we're giving God anything by repenting of our sin. And I was just so contrite, and He was so loving and so gracious. And in that, I see that, man, He allowed me to fail horribly and miserably, flat on my face in front of other people. He allowed that, for me to learn, for me to grow, for me to be stretched, for me to just remember my human nature, and to be slow to speak and slow to become angry and prideful, and that my ego shouldn't be in what I can do, but it's my pride and my ego. And says, I will boast in this, not to us, but to your name be glory and honor. It should be, my pride really should be in the God who enables me to do these things that I'm doing. It just gave me a new sense, a new perspective of how I should carry on moving in this life, in this world with other people, how I can be more humble and more gracious, more accepting of others, more loving in their journey to be better. Now obviously if someone's making a mistake, but if someone is like just being, you know you know what I mean, like, okay. Okay, we can speak about that. But I also think it's coming from where I grew up. Being a St. Lucian woman, growing up in a St. Lucian household, in the Black culture, we have this thing about excellence, and like having to be this certain way, and exerting and executing so many multiple things within our lives. I think that is where that pride comes in as well. It's like, you're only as good as what you do, as what you put out. You're only as good as, what you can deliver in this world, and how great people say you are. So I think even in that, like the culture, God breaking down certain mindsets of the culture that we have, or that I had, and not despising that. Like, it's such a blessing that he's molding us and growing us to be more like him, and more like Christ, and more of his character. I think that's just I think that's absolutely wonderful, and something we should just be reminded of. Like, consider the blessing of failing, that it shows you not to rely on your own strength, not to rely on your own knowledge, not to rely on everything that you've achieved and accomplished over the years, which is probably incredible things. Like, I don't know you, but I'm sure you have done so much incredible, wonderful things within this life. But he wants our full dependence on him. Now, that doesn't take away from going out and learning, like going out and researching more, going out and reading some more and stuff like that. It doesn't take away from you putting the work in as well, in what he's called you to do and who he's called you to be in this earth. But it also took away that, like, my identity is so rooted in what I do. If I don't have any things, if I fail, or when I do fail, when these things are taken away from me, who am I? Am I still not a child and a daughter of the King? Am I still not his servant? Am I still not, you know, a part of his wonderful family, that he calls me precious? He calls me chosen. And no matter what I do in this world, I'm still his. I'm still his. I'm still his. And I don't have to chase my tail to be any to make meaning out of myself and out of who he says I am. I don't have to chase this meaning and make it and weave an identity out of this world and out of what this world can offer me. I don't have to do that because I'm already his. He calls me his own. He wants a contrite heart. So if you're feeling humble today, if you feel like you've failed, if you feel like you're a failure, if you feel like there's no way out of the situation, if you feel like your reputation is completely smeared by whatever's been done, I want to just remind you, it is not. You are still a child of the great, mighty, matchless King. And you are not your failures, and you're not what you do, but you are who he says you are. And he's calling us to be holy like him. And that does require a stripping away of the ego, of comparison, of what other people have to say. When I had to lean on the fact that I have to remember who he says about me. And you have other people who remind you of that as well, that you who does he say that you are? Knowing that there is a blessing in the failing, and it's to be a greater servant. And then the point as well, I think the failing is such a blessing, because when I have failed, that's the things I remember more and how I can be better. So it's like, oh, it's stretching me in a way that, oh, I can be so much better here. This is an area of growth that I can really focus on. And it's not in a way to just make you damaged, but it's like, okay, I don't know this, or I struggled here. How can I do better? Okay, now I know exactly what happened. I'm gonna fixate on this, not fixate, but just be more mindful of this area in my life where I can contribute and I can improve on. So I definitely think that's the blessing as well. Because whenever I hear you're great, you're great, you're great, I'm like, okay, cool. But when I hear like, oh, you need to work on this, I'm like, yeah, okay, I need to work on this. Let me consider that and really I have a chance to grow. And it's like, consider failing as a chance to grow, and to you're growing and being molded. And that's the beauty in of itself. Also, just to add as well, I think part of being an ambitious woman, that comes with it as well. The idea that my ambition is so like in merged and in tied to my identity, and people celebrate us for what we do and who we are and what we achieve and what we accomplish in life. So when we fail, it's like, oh, I didn't do this right, and who am I? But he's continuously calling us to renew our minds and get back to the throne, get back in submission, get back to just bowing down and worshiping, bowing down and knowing that he is a great mighty God, and we get to do the things he's called us to do. We get to express our gifts. We get to do these things, but identity is not in those things. And Lord, make us more like you. Make us more. We need to be made more like him and holy. So I hope this was encouraging, and write down below what were your takeaways, what you really found encouraging, and any other comments that you think should have been added, or you thought of that came out of what was shared. So take care, and I hope you remember that you're loved by God, and you are not your failures, but your failures will stretch and grow you and mold you into the character he's calling you to be. So consider what the blessing of the failing is today. It's to know him more, and it's to be more like him. It's to be more humble and more loving. Well, we should be more humble and more loving to others when they fail and when they fall short, and knowing that our identity is not in our output, but it is in who he says we are, and being so yoked to that vine and being so connected to that vine. So write down below what you think. Do you agree with what I'm saying? If not, say why. If you do agree, add your points. Add any points that you feel like could have been added and wasn't addressed in that as well. All right, precious one. Take care and see you in my next video. Bye.